The headlines declare the places. Brooklyn, New York. Southern Mississippi. Gilroy, California. El Paso, Texas. Dayton, Ohio. As of a week ago Wednesday, 255 mass shootings in this country this year. 255. The talking heads on the networks give us the details. The politicians blame the folks in the opposition party, and the National Rifle Association digs in to defend the Second Amendment. Religious leaders, including our own bishop, call for an end to hate and racial and ethnic bigotry. The bishop, our bishop, Bishop Wright, has of August the 9th made a statement for the press. I have made copies of that statement, and it is on the table inside the entranceway. Take it with you. Read it. I find it interesting that on this Sunday, following the latest shootings, that the gospel lesson for today begins with these words. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Do not be afraid, little flock. Fear. Fear. I am convinced that fear is Satan's most profound weapon. Think about the presence of fear in your own life, your experiences with fear. We all have had them and will have them. You know how it goes. Things are going along at their usual pace. Nothing unusual. Everything going well. The job seems okay. The children are doing well in school. The household runs fairly smoothly. The bills are being paid, and your closest relationships seem to be on course. It's what we call just things are going well. And then it happens. It happens. We have other terms for it. Maybe it begins with the argument with your spouse. Or the children begin not doing well in school. A speeding ticket here and there. At the annual Christmas party, the boss acts as though he doesn't even know you. And fear begins with the seeds of doubt. Or how about this scenario? Lying in bed late at night, dozing off, you begin to feel some discomfort. Something's not right. There's the presence of blood on your lower body. What's wrong? What is it? You don't sleep well. As soon as it becomes possible, you call the doctor's office. It's an emergency as far as you're concerned. In the next few days, they will follow all those tests. And then you will wait with great anxiety, imagining the worst. It's the waiting. The waiting that's the worst. Maybe it's malignancy. What about our insurance? How much time can I take off from work without it affecting my tenure? Do I have any sick leave left? What, God forbid, if it's terminal? Fear. Fear can reduce the strongest person to become a beggar who will bargain with the devil himself or plead with God and promise anything in exchange for good news. You have done it, and I have done it. And here it is, right on the lips of Jesus, the opening words of that gospel for this morning. Do not be afraid, little flock. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. If you go back through Scripture and look at every encounter between the human and the divine, the first words spoken by the divine to the human are always the same. Every single instance. Be not afraid. Remember the encounter of Mary with the angel announcing the coming birth? The opening words of that encounter, Mary, be not afraid. Be not afraid. There was a time when I believed that the opposite of faith was doubt. And I have certainly had my share of doubts. But I have come to the better knowledge. I've come to believe that God doesn't mind my doubts. That the real culprit is fear. The real culprit is fear. Fear causes us to hoard our precious goods. Fear turns us against one another. Fear makes us suspicious that anything that is out of the way we view events and people, anything out of that ordinary, is fearful. Look at the lessons of history. The Crusades were all about erasing those who didn't worship a certain version of God. It was fear that gave rise to Nazi Germanism that resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Jews. Fear gives rise to prejudice, and prejudice leads to abuse and acts of terror and destruction. Our gospel lesson this week was the story of last week was the story of the landowner who was super successful. We call the story his crops produced manifold results. His existing barns and warehouses were not enough to hold them. It was the entrepreneur's golden dream. He surveys all that and says, what will I do? I know. I'll tear down all of those barns and warehouses and build bigger and better ones and fill them up. And then I will sit back and eat and drink and enjoy the good life. A dream I suspect that many of us have harbored at some time or another. I will eat and drink and enjoy the good life. And what was in that story the Lord's response? You fool, tonight I require your soul. You fool. And then this statement. Where your treasure is, there will be your heart. Where your treasure is, there will be your heart. Think about it. Don't you know someone who's so into the good life that they spend most of their treasure on material things? I've said it before, I'll say it again. That wonderful theme song. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? The good life. Jesus goes on to tell his followers that the kingdom that he is proclaiming and that he is promising is one that is built on relationships with God and each other. Not on what you have, but who you are and who you relate to. A wonderful line, make purses for yourselves that do not wear out. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out. I read that the other day, and about 10 minutes later opened my bureau drawer, and there are 3 old wallets, worn out. Relationships. Purses for yourselves that do not wear out. I love that image. It seems to me that what we are all about here at St. Anthony's is trying to live out what Jesus proclaims. Let our money go where our heart is. Unfortunately, most of us live our lives with the opposite. Where our heart is, there we put our money. If I think kindly of you, I'll feed you. If I respect you, I'll see that you have a decent place to live. If you're bright enough, I'll give you a scholarship. And Jesus says, no, where your money is, there your heart will follow. And that's what we're about. Go look on the bulletin board by the kitchen. There's some notes there. They're thank you notes. Thank you notes for the formula for a child who doesn't have any. Thank you notes from the women's shelter for clothes that the occupants can wear to make a good interview. We put our money where it's needed, and eventually our hearts will follow. When you leave here today, I hope you will spend some time in a quiet place and ask yourself, where is my heart? Where's my heart? Does your money follow your heart, or does my heart follow my money? Is the question. I don't know about you, but I have a little ritual. Every month, my bank sends me a statement online. I print it out with all of my credit card charges, my deposits, and my checks. 2 separate sheets of paper. And I can sit there and look at it, and I can tell what my answer to the question is, where is your heart? By looking at where my money has been going. The bank says that these are my current financial inventories, and that's true. But in a certain way, it's an inventory of my spiritual health. It is a heart check. So the next time your bank statement arrives, take time to read your heart check. Does my heart follow my money, as Jesus states, or do I have some work to do? Little flock, do not be afraid. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Now that you can take to the bank. Amen.